Welcome to Tech at Work Online. My name is Melissa Nelson. I'm an AmeriCorps member at Vermont Works for Women, and this is Tech at Work Online on software development with 3 women from OnLogic. Before we get started, I'm just going to share a little bit about who Vermont Works for Women is. Vermont Works for Women is a nonprofit in Winooski, Vermont, and we help women and girls achieve economic independence in their lives. And this takes a variety of forms for adults and youth. For youth, we primarily do career exploration programs such as this, Tech at Work. So Tech at Work is a speaker series program that introduces primarily high school students at tech centers to gender diverse role models in non-traditional career paths for women, girls, and gender non-conforming individuals. And this serves the purpose of showing that anyone who wants to can pursue these career paths and be successful, and to introduce them to gender diverse role models here in Vermont in our community. So I will transition it back over and we'll get to hear about some software development. Okay, so if you would all introduce yourself first, please.
All right. Hi, I'm Allison Lawrence. I have been at OnLogic for coming up on 10 years, and I am the development team manager.
Hi, I'm Julie Berlin. I'm the lead web developer at OnLogic, and I've been here for 2.5 months.
I didn't realize it was that short. That's amazing. My name is Mariah Hunsel. I've been with OnLogic for over 6 years now. I've been in a lot of different roles, but currently I am working as a business analyst with the software dev team.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you all for joining. And Julie, congratulations on making that transition during the whole stay home order. So that's a brave transition to make during this time period.
It actually happened just before.
Really? Okay, let's ask, why did you all choose this career? How did you know it was what you wanted to do?
I'll jump in there. So as a development team manager, I got to this point from, I was a developer for 5 or 6 years at OnLogic, and my career just kind of slowly grew into this, mostly from being thrown in the deep end and just trying. And it's been pretty exciting for that, where it's kind of every day you try something new and you explore and you learn and you find what you do like and what you don't like. And here I am today.
Okay.
And I would say I didn't seek out this career. It kind of chose me gradually over time. I started to learn about websites. I've been doing this for over 20 years and started to learn web development when the web was still a very new thing. And so I've just bit by bit been learning things, doing things on my own time, just completely self-taught and just applying myself and having fun and doing things that were fun, and then eventually realizing that I could do this every day and people would pay me to do it, and I should seek a job that's specifically web development and software development, and that it didn't have to be a hobby.
Nice. Yeah, I think for me, definitely not what I planned on doing either. I actually went to school originally for anthropology, a liberal arts degree. Had no idea what it is I wanted to do with my life, and it just turned into one of the things I started working with OnLogic in like a more support role with sales. And then from there, found out I was really good at doing IT stuff, and so I kind of grew into the role based on what the business needed. And I still am kind of doing that today. I've actually only been doing my current job for like 6 months. Before that, I was doing software testing. So it's been really neat to just kind of see like my growth, like going along with the company and what they need there. So it's been an interesting adventure.
Wonderful. Thank you all for sharing. And it sounds like you have a variety of experiences that led you to this. So thank you for giving that insight. At what point, I think some of you addressed this a little bit, but at what point did you know that this was what you wanted?
So I was homeschooled and did a lot of just exploring different things to see what I liked. My parents were very allowed a lot of freedom and creativity. And so I played around with a lot of things and found out that it was really fun to build websites. At the time, things were a lot simpler when I was, I don't know, 11 years old than they are today as far as building websites goes. But I really found a passion for it. And so I ended up going to school for software engineering at Vermont Tech. And once I graduated, I had another job in between graduation and OnLogic, but it was short-lived. And so I ended up at OnLogic and was super happy about it. I love the culture. I love everything about it. And similar to what Mariah had said, I've seen myself grow with the company. So what a fortunate opportunity I've had there. Going from my degree into the field and being able to work hands-on with development and really finding how awesome and fun and satisfying and fulfilling it is. I had a ton of fun with that for several years. And then again, I transitioned into this management role kind of by being thrown into the deep end, being asked, do you want to try this? Do you think that you'd enjoy this? And I went back and forth with that, honestly. I found some days were a lot harder than others. And I was like, am I any good at this? I don't know why I'm doing this. And then the days that you find success and satisfaction, those really help you recognize what is it to be fulfilled in your career and what are you looking for. So that whole roller coaster through the years has been it's a great way to learn about yourself, to put yourself into different scenarios and see what works and what doesn't. Long answer.
But detailed, so thank you. To Julie or Mariah, do you want to add anything?
I did a lot of things before doing web development. I went to school for fine arts and did art and painting. And then after college, I was a police officer for a few years.
I didn't know that.
I was a mutual fund representative and learned, learned about finance and that sort of stuff. And then I also worked for a company that did business presentations. And so I did a lot of data visualization work and design. I taught myself Photoshop and started and sort of came in from learning about design and presentation design and marketing, and then sort of slowly got more and more technical over the years and realizing that I'm pretty good at the technical part. I wouldn't have chosen it and I didn't set out to do it, but I love it. And every day, there are days like that Allison said, it's frustrating and you feel like you can't do it and why did I do this and I'm not good enough, but it's much outweighed by the victories. And when you get something figured out and it works, it's such a great rush. So.
Yeah, mine definitely third everything that everyone's saying. Not something I set out to do. I'm actually a very creative person by nature. In my free time, I actually have a side business where I do my own photography. I still have that need. Yeah. But what I found with kind of the stigma you hear about technology of they're all nerds and they only care about data, blah, blah, blah. It's like anything, it's not true. There's a lot of creativity when you have a lot of the technical limitations, really, because you have to think of so many new options that you might not be able to think of if the whole world is opened up to you. So the ability to be creative when you feel there's these kinds of restrictions actually is really important. So I think that's what attracted me to it is when you are really locked into this is what you have to deal with, the options you can come up with are just really sweet. But going back to the original question is how I got on here, kind of what I already talked about, just something where I started just trying to figure out what I wanted to do with my life. I was always the kind of person that didn't want to do the same thing for my entire life. And there's a lot of pressure, when you go to school, when you get an education, anything, you have to know what you want to do. And I always struggled with that, and hence why I went and got a liberal arts degree in anthropology. I was more interested in understanding the people in society we live with versus what it was I wanted to do. So I spent a lot of years just trying different things, traveling, prioritizing that. And then working with OnLogic was like a perfect opportunity of being able to grow with a small company. Like at the time we started, I think we were 50 people. So not like teeny, but like we were still like everyone kind of did everything as much as you could. And as we've been growing, like each person we bring on gets more and more specialized. And if I was in this role 5 years ago, I've been like, nah, not for me. But because like I started in that big, like you do everything and like kind of working down to like, you focus on this one thing. I'm like, oh, that's way more interesting now. It's like, I kind of see like what the impact is to the business, like kind of seeing that go out that way. So yeah, just kind of like being open to like where life takes you, I think has been way more interesting than me trying to prescribe what I do with my life.
Wow, that's incredible. Thank you all. Actually, Allison, we have Vermont Women has a strong partnership with Vermont Tech, and we do an annual career exploration there in the fall. I think OnLogic has participated many times, but that's exciting to hear about that. And then Julie and Mariah, your paths too are so fascinating, so thank you. Okay, I'm going to ask, what do you love most about your job? And maybe if every person can say one thing that they love most about their job, just in the interest of time. Okay, well, we'll stick with the same order.
Yeah, I like it. Consistent.
All right, I'm going to go with one thing, and that's variety. Okay. It's always different.
Yeah, I agree. It is, you don't know necessarily what you're going to be faced with as you come into work every day. It is always different. You have to roll with the punches, and that makes it fun and exciting.
Yeah, I think my like addition to that is like the people. I honestly would not still be at this job if the people I worked with weren't as great as they are, because that like defines like my day to day. Like if I work with a group of people I didn't like, I'm not interested in going to work. So I think being able to like go in and like know that these are people I can rely on and work with is a really big part of my day.
Okay, thank you all. And now the flip side of that, what is the biggest challenge of your job? And again, we're gonna try to keep it to one per person.
It's funny because I think I'll stick with variety. It's
okay.
So hard to know what your priorities are, if you're working on the right thing, if you're being successful when there's so much going on. So it keeps it fun, interesting, engaging, and exciting. And it also makes things really hard and stressful at times.
Okay. That's good insight to have. Thank you.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And I would just say in particular with as being a developer and you're dealing with constantly changing technology and you've got to stay up to date on it. That's for me the most challenging, is keeping up to date with things changing so rapidly in the technology world in general. How do you pick what to spend time and learn really well and really deeply versus know a little bit about, and then if you're asked to do it, then you'll learn more. It's always, you always feel like there's way more to know than you're ever going to get to, and that's difficult.
Yeah, I think for me, I deal daily with imposter syndrome. So because I don't have the like technical training, like formally, I've had to learn a lot of stuff like as I do it, which is like true of any job. Like you're never going to be 100% prepared for like what you do day to day. But I think for me, like when I'm faced with a brand new problem and I can't solve it right away, I just immediately start the spiral of like, am I good at this? Should I even be doing this? Like kind of what you guys were saying earlier. And like just questioning like whether or not I'm fit for it. But like once I kind of get over that, like the mantra I've picked up in the last few years is like done is better than perfect, because like everything could be better. That's like the reality of everything. And if you try to go for perfection every time, you're always disappointed. So for me, just like that reminder of like, get it done, move on, learn from it, do it better next time. Way better mindset to go into.
Okay, thank you. Okay, what does a day at work look like for each of you? So you're all on the same team, which I think also is really wonderful. It provides an insight or some insight into all of the aspects that go into one team. So I think this will be particularly interesting for our audience, for the students to hear about. So just what a day-to-day generally looks like.
So this is where you find out I actually am an imposter, because I don't know how to describe what I do every day. But really my main goal in my role is to protect the goals of my team. So making sure that the developers on my team are able to focus, have the information that they need, are able to report on what they are working on, have visibility into issues that are happening on our live sites. That's really my main goal. And so that's going to look different every day between working with Mariah to get information on a ticket that Julie's working on, making sure that I'm bridging that communication gap, or blocking and saying if somebody's trying to ask for some last minute changes on something, or something that might not be a high priority, making sure that I'm setting expectations properly and not allowing that to become in as a distraction for my team. I like to picture a fun rainbow sparkle bubble around everybody, and we don't want that to pop and get sparkles everywhere, because everyone hates when sparkles are stuck to them and they can't get rid of it.
There's the worst.
It's the worst. So really, there's that variety coming back in, but that's my main goal. And then in addition to that, I do look into ways that I can better improve processes for everybody around me, maybe not just development, but for the whole software development lifecycle, from Mariah to Carly, who wasn't able to be here today. So that's all the way from planning through to releasing our code into production. So my days like this. Woo!
Yeah, I think, you know, what you're doing a lot, Allison, is you're communicating and you're, you know, meeting with people all day and talking and making good plans. And a lot of what I'm doing is hopefully not as much meeting as you are, because then I won't have time to do any work. So our day starts with a huddle, a 15-minute huddle, where we talk about any what's happening for the day, for our priorities for the team, and if we have anything blocking us from getting our work done. And then I'll check, usually after that meeting, I'll check my calendar, see what I've got to prepare for the day, and then work on tickets that are part of our ticket tracking system. And hopefully I'll get a couple of those finished before the day's over. So.
Cool. Yeah, my day is kind of similar to Allison's, where anything can happen. But my responsibilities with my job is mostly making sure the information that gets to the dev team to actually do work on is solid. So what I do is I work with the business. They usually come to us with like a request of, we want X to work this way. And then I think of all like the implications of that. Who else is going to be impacted by that? Just like really get what it is we're asking for very clearly defined, understand what the impact to our systems is going to be, and then basically deliver that in a nice little package to the dev team to go do. So a lot of the blocking and tackling that Alice is talking about is blocking and tackling me, because I'll come in being like, this is on fire, all the time. I try not to. I try to actually do it based on like how impactful it is to our business, since what we do is all like our internal systems. We luckily don't have to do a lot of customer facing work, which is great. So we can kind of like keep it amongst ourselves and go directly to our stakeholders if things do come in hot. So yeah, I'm kind of like that first line of defense to the dev team, and then Allison's a line of defense to me. So it's a good time.
And I just want to add to that and say, before we had Mariah in the role that she's in, we didn't know what we were missing, but for developers to have information presented and stuff thought out before they develop it is really helpful.
It's crazy.
Having literally tickets to work on that had one line of information that mostly I made because I'm not good at filling out that information. One line saying, we need this to do this, and then a developer would take it, and then it would just go, they would do their best, but with no information. So just Mariah and I aren't just butting heads, but I also am bowing at her knees because she helps out so much.
Part of it is like we keep the business responsible for what they're asking for. So like developers, like you guys know, we can do anything, but if we're not given the full picture of why we need it, it might not actually be any good. So just kind of going with the focus of like the what and the why, and then the dev team can figure out the how, which makes it way more of a better system.
Okay. I like that you're all able to, I mean, together, I think you round out the work that you're doing, and so you can give a full picture, idea of what you're doing. So thank you. So part of Tech at Work is to introduce these students to gender diverse role models in career fields where often it's not as typical for some genders to be represented. So in the techie fields, it's generally women and gender nonconforming individuals who are less represented. So as women, how has your experience been? Have you had any challenges based on your gender? I think you're also in a really unique situation in that your team, you have a lot of women on your team. So what has that experience been like?
So I have to say I've been very fortunate in my career that I haven't really faced adversity at being a woman in tech. Mostly a lot of credit goes to OnLogic being a very open and fair environment to work in. I do have to say also, when I was in school, when I was at Vermont Tech, I was one, I think I was the only woman in my graduating class for software engineering. Out of it, there were like 8 of us, but going from that and then to where we are today, as you can see, there's 3 women on this call on the same team at a tech company. I was realizing the other day that I've seen in my short time from college to career, I've seen such a transition and so many more women come into this. And I think that our team right now is like maybe it's not 50-50, but it's, I mean, we've got a pretty, a lot of meetings that I'm in are a lot of women, and it's really cool to see. It's such an interesting shift from being in college with almost entirely male, just totally fine. Like we got along fine. It was all great, but it's just such a shift to see that start to balance out, and to see the different kind of minds that come along with it. Just I'm going to use that word variety again, but really you just get different perspectives when you bring in different genders, people with different backgrounds, and it just adds so much to the whole group to have that variety. So that doesn't answer your question, but that's how I felt like I could contribute.
No, that does answer. Thank you. It's just your experience in this career field thus far. And some people have experienced challenges and some haven't. And I think both perspectives are equally valuable to hear.
So I love working at OnLogic. It's by far the most gender diverse place I've ever worked for the technical side of things. And I have experienced some challenges in this career, and have worked with, workplaces where it is mostly men. And, some of them are great, and some of them not so much. Sometimes it's your coworkers can be really great, but management maybe doesn't quite see a woman in a technical role. They definitely don't see you as being as capable as other men who are less experienced even than you. So yeah, I've definitely experienced a lot of challenges, and I think that for a woman who is going into this career and, looking at different companies, evaluating different positions at different companies, it's definitely a good sign when a company hires women in all levels of the company, in leadership roles and in technical roles and everything. I would say that's a signal of a good experience, that a workplace that cares and values the perspective of women and non-gender conforming people. So.
Yeah, it's been funny to be a part of OnLogic, because when I started in sales, I think it was me and one other girl on that team. And sales, like, that is traditionally like a male dominated thing. But what's been kind of neat to see is, like, as we grow, that dynamic is definitely like evening out. Like what Allison said about how our team is like half women now. Like when I transitioned over to the IT team, I think it was just you and me there.
Was Amy there yet?
Amy was there, yeah, because Amy was the one that hired me. So our team lead, or the like VP of IT was a woman. So like it was already like it's been happening, and the company is owned by a woman, like it's co-owned, half ownership by women. So like that priority's always been there. I think before OnLogic, like it's always something you deal with as a woman, and you like don't notice it anymore. And I always took that as like a challenge of like, oh, if I can do this, I'm special. But like that's like the wrong mentality I have, right? Because like you can do this because you want to do it. It's not because you like get extra treatment or like you're like sought out after because you're a woman. So that's always something I've struggled with is like, did I get this because I'm a woman unique or is it because I'm capable? So that's like always something that's always been at the back of my mind. But now, like, as you see things kind of evening out, I'm asking myself that question less because like I know now that I'm getting this role and I'm getting this job because I'm capable. And just like having that becoming more of the trend has been like really empowering.
Thank you all for sharing your experiences, and you do have some differences there, and thank you. I think again it's so important to be able to hear multiple perspectives on all of this. And Mariah, I like what you say about doing the job because you're capable of it, and absolutely, and I think that's a great message for our students to hear. And hopefully that's what we're promoting to them, is that anyone can pursue these. If
I can do this, you can do this. You just have to want to do this.
That's right. Anyone can do it who wants to and who's passionate about it. Great. Okay. So 2 more questions before we wrap up. So again, this is for high schoolers. So for someone entering this career field, what would you say about how much money can they expect to make in the software development field? I know it seems like there's a variety of options for jobs they can take, but in general, what would you say?
I think if there's such a variety in tech, I think I'm obsessed with the word variety today. There's such a large span of opportunity in tech. So really you can hit the whole gamut of entry salaries for, I'm just going to make a fool of myself if I try to list different jobs. So instead, I'm going to say I want to put the average starting for development is going to be between 60 and 80, depending on your location and education. It's certainly, tech is, I think, it's one of the higher paid fields, and I think it will be for a while. And part of that is to what Julie was saying. It's very fast changing, and you have to keep up with it, which is fairly unique to the field. There's so much to pick up on, and there's so many different corners and crevices of tech that there's a lot of value in somebody that truly has an interest and understands and learns along with it, which is why I think that there is typically a sway toward higher salary in tech.
Okay, thank you. And lastly, to round out the interview, do you have any advice for these students?
So much.
I'm glad to hear that.
I'm gonna break the rotation and go first.
Sure.
Woo! Yeah. I think, just I know there's like, it hasn't changed much since I was in school, where like you have this pressure to feel like you have to know what you want to do with your life in order to like get a degree, start a job. And I think tech can feel very limiting because of that, because like that is a very specific thing. But I would even say if you go out going for a tech job and you find it's not for me, like life is way more interesting than what you can plan for. Like you're going to be so surprised about all the options that come up if you just like go out and like see what happens. So it's good to have a plan and to go after what you're passionate about. But keep an open mind to like what life serves you, because it's going to be way better.
Well put.
I would say that this is a good job if you're someone who's curious and someone who likes to learn and wants to keep learning throughout their career. And if you even have a little inkling in your mind that you might be interested in a career in tech, then try it. Absolutely try it. And even if you're not like cut out to be, a software engineer or, back-end engineer or something, there are many, many other jobs that touch upon that role that are also, people with any technical knowledge are valuable. And So you could have a job that's in tech that isn't just a software engineer or just a kind of a hardcore tech programming job. They're all different. It spans a gamut of all different roles you could fill in the tech industry. So try it out and be open, as Mariah said.
Yeah, I will echo that. For me, my big piece of advice is to follow your passion. If you don't know what your passion is, then try things, but don't let yourself get pigeonholed. Well, unless you're passionate about pigeonholes, but don't let other people pressure
What is a
you into
pigeonhole?
thinking.
I'm not sure, actually.
That's a good question. I think we'll all be Googling that after.
Maybe
this.
one of you can figure out what that is and make that your passion.
But yeah, it's all about what drives you and what motivates you, and that's really what's going to make you successful in the end. If you're trying to be in tech because you heard it's a good thing to do and you find that you're not passionate about it, you're going to feel like it's not a good career once you get into it. So really follow what feels right and what interests you and what excites you, and that's what's going to keep you going and keep you reaching for the next thing day after day.
Yes.
Agreed.
Okay, thank you all for that advice. I think that's wonderful advice for all of our high schoolers. And so thank you. And thank you as well for all joining us virtually and being flexible and making this work. I appreciate it, so thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Of course, yes. This was really a great presentation and you provided invaluable insight into this career field. So thank you. To round it out, I am just going to share, if you're watching this with a teacher, and here are a few discussion questions that we are offering. And this is up to individual teachers if they want you to answer these, but these are some questions that we at Vermont Works for Women think are good to answer. And okay, thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having us.